Chris, I think this is the first time that you've ever been on the Rage Select podcast here on Rage Select. Is that true? We've done roughly 1 million recordings, so I can't remember who did what, when, where, or how. Did this used to be your website? Did you used to run Rage Select? Did we switch one time when we were both drunk? Is that what happened?
No. I've been actually saving myself for the right podcast to do it, and this is my first time. You're going to be gentle with me, right? I'm a little nervous. I'm a little scared. Is there going to be a lot of blood?
There's going to be a lot of blood. I'm not going to lie to you. There's going to be a lot of blood. So,
okay.
Welcome, Chris, to the Rage Select podcast here at Rage Select. I am Jeff.
I am Chris.
And I
was tricked, I tell you.
I was like, hey, Chris, do you want to play a video game? And he was like, yes. I'm like, do you want to talk about all the video games for 2 hours? He was like,
that's not what happened. He was like, hey, Chris, you want to do the podcast tonight? I was like, yeah, sure. So I get on. I'm like, okay, you ready? Yeah. Oh, by the way, this isn't the one that's 30 minutes. This is the one that's 7 hours.
Yes.
That's fine, though, right?
Yes. Yes. And we have a jam-packed show because Xbox did this whole inside Xbox Series X next generation console games reveal thing. But before we get to that, Chris, there's a tradition on the Rage Select podcast, and it goes a little something like, what have you been up to over the last week or so? Seen anything good? Played anything good? Eaten anything good? Gone on any roller coasters?
Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I as you pointed out earlier, have my own podcast, oneofus.net, and we decided we were going to go all in on trying to cover as much online content as we could, as much streaming stuff, like on Netflix and what have you, as much VOD stuff. And we expanded our crew significantly. And I forgot how much work it is to manage that many more people and to literally it is spinning 18 to 30 plates at once every single day, all day. I was
going to say, it's like herding cats, but you already have 3 cats. You must already know how to get them all into the same place at the same time, right?
On top of that. Okay. But, I mean, it's fun. I love it. But, man, people are like, man, I'm so bored. I'm like, I don't even remember what boredom was like.
Yeah, me too. But I tell you what, I actually have a story, or I have a cautionary tale to tell the listeners before we get into it. So, Chris, I don't know if you know this, but the meat is there's shortages of the meat, right?
Yeah, so I'm told. Yeah. Although that's true, and at the same time, they're also like, oh, and we had to kill hundreds of our animals because there wasn't enough demand. I'm like, what is happening?
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yeah. It's like I try to keep those things off the Rage Select podcast, but that makes me. But anyway, I went to Wendy's last week, and Wendy's was like, hey, buddy, we've got a deal. 2 10-piece Wendy's chicken nuggets for $5.
Hell yeah.
And I was like,
spicy chicken nuggets.
Yes. And then I ate 20 Wendy's chicken nuggets and a large fries, and I did not feel very good after that.
That is an unfortunate side effect of the immediate feel-good part of it. The question is, was the trade-off worth it?
I don't think so. I don't think Wendy's chicken nuggets are good enough. I think Wendy's has a problem, Chris. I think Wendy's is putting on airs. They want $8 for a double cheeseburger, and I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking, Wendy's? It's not like you made the inside of your store look like a hotel room, but the burger's the same burger that it's been since 1987, and I don't know
that weird square meat that they have on there.
Yeah,
what is the square patty? What is the deal with that? Because that is not appetizing. That looks like just it came out of a construction machine, that's just chopping out patties. Here you go, patty. What the hell? I've always generally liked their chicken, though, but I had you saw they did 5 free nuggets no matter what, or 4 free nuggets no matter what to anybody who came through. You didn't even have to order anything.
Really?
So my wife who's wonderful. She went and got me some, and I've had their nuggets in forever. And she's like, I don't know, I got the sriracha sauce. I mean, I like hot, but I don't like hot.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I eat sriracha at home. Man, that's some hot fucking sauce. Even she was like, Jesus Christ, this sauce is really hot.
Oh man, I'm a total weenie. I'm a mild ranch guy. I want the savory and tangy. I'm not into the whole spicy bit. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to eat 20 spicy chicken nuggets with dipped in spicy sauce. I don't know.
It was not bad.
I asked Matt Frank this one time. Chris, I want to get your opinion. I want to get your tally. How many Wendy's chicken nuggets do you think you could eat before you just straight up threw up? Like in one sitting?
It would entirely depend on how hungry I was, first off. But let's go from the assumption I had nothing to eat. I was at my bottom level of like, shit, I'm fucking starving. I'm ready for some food.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could get through about 25.
Only 25?
Yeah, there's a point real quick that type of fast food gangs up on you and you can feel it coming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But also, here's the thing that you should know about me. When I get chicken nuggets at home, I spread them on a plate, cook them in the microwave, and then I put slices of cheese on top of them. I'll eat it that way.
On top of each individual nugget?
Well, no, I mean, they're all crammed on a plate, right? So the plate is lousy with chicken nuggets. Anyway, there's very few places in between. You have to kind of puzzle them, Tetris them in there. And then you put slices of cheese on top of them.
Okay, so like a nuggacho, like a
yes,
nachugget.
Exactly. Yes, and it's quite good, my friend.
I could see that.
Good.
Boy, you could put like bacon bits and like guacamole and stuff on top
I've
of there.
I've experimented with all that stuff. Sometimes you do a little ranch squeezins over the top of it too.
Okay.
It's good.
You know what, Chris? I think I have to turn this podcast. I think we have to stop recording right now because I think you and I need to figure out how to make chicken nuggets into a triangle, and we're going to open up early. If we can't open up a food cart in Austin that sells nuggets or nuggos or whatever they're called, nuggos. That's the one right there.
Isn't it nuggies? I thought it was nuggies. They say, right? They say nuggies.
Oh, I don't know. But if it's a nugget nacho, then it's a nuggo, right?
Nuggo. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can do all sorts of things with the chicken nugget that have not been done yet.
Yes.
The chicken nugget is like one of the perfect foods. And, what is the chicken thing where like when you get full chicken, there's a whole thing with like they stuff chicken with stuff. They're like, put stuff in the fucking chicken.
Yeah.
Like, yes, try anything stuffed in a chicken and it's good. All right. Why isn't that a thing with chicken nuggets? Why aren't there chicken nuggets where the center is like fucking tikka masala sauce or pesto or
just cheese?
Goddamn molten cheese.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that should be a thing. Why is that not a thing?
Whoa.
I don't know. Maybe it's science hasn't caught up to the technology. I don't know.
Okay, we have to get going to the news because I'm about to lose my mind and start making this a nugget podcast. But like, what if you took a chicken nugget and you put molten cheese in the middle, and then you took that nugget and stuffed it inside a jalapeno, and then you wrap that jalapeno in bacon and deep fry it and dip the whole thing into ranch sauce, and then put it in your mouth, chew it, and see the face of God. Like,
oh, you've been to the Texas State Fair.
No, but I'm a big fan of shoving one type of food in another type of food. So
then you definitely want to go to the Texas State Fair because that is what that is. I went there and I had a cheeseburger, fries, breaded together and deep fried. So you ate the whole thing as one thing. They were all just smushed together and deep fried in a ball.
Yeah, there you go.
You ate that and then add spicy dipping sauce. Take this whole big weird fried cheeseburger fries ball and dip that. And I was like, humanity doesn't deserve to continue, but I'm fine with that.
Or this is the thing that's going to save us when the aliens come to judge us. We're like, check this out.
Yeah, they'll be like, well, maybe you do have something to offer the universe.
Yep. Well, speaking of things to offer the universe, the Microsoft Corporation offered the universe a lot of trailers that are all about third-party games on the Xbox One X today in the Inside Xbox gameplay show. And we have roughly 600 trailers, and we are going to go over all of them. We're actually going to skip, though, this article that I have pulled up puts Assassin's Creed first, but we're going to save that for last. And we're going to just start with this Bright Memory Infinite, which, as I was telling Chris, is made by one guy. And this game is already out on Steam, or like a version of this is out on Steam, like a different 2-hour version. And it's got this whole thing where it's like run and gun first person shooter combat, but then also you've got like superpowers and telekinesis. You can like slow down time and like whip guys over to you with like a laser whip, and you've got a sword, and the main character is a hot girl, and there's like medieval monsters and dragons and shit as well. Like,
and you forgot to mention the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Also, that's there, and it's not even Ready Player One. So know,
this is one guy. I'm like, this guy gets the coronavirus achievement award, right? You're just like, nobody has been more productive with their time in isolation than this guy. Yeah, that looks great, man. Look at that. That's not like, you always are making me play these like, oh, this one dude did this game, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I think I played this on the Commodore 64. This looks like it was made by a huge team over like 6 years.
Yeah. Part of that, though, the funny part about this game, though, is that it looks really good, but I think that this is a great place to start this conference, because this is, I feel like, what most PC games on the latest Unreal Engine look like if you have a computer that's good enough to jack all the settings all the way up. Like, what's going on in this game is really cool looking, but it's like not necessarily more complicated than any game we've seen before. It's just got like way more particle effects, way more lighting, and like shadow density and stuff like that. Like, this could honestly be a PlayStation 2 game if it just looked way worse. But
isn't that true of a lot of games?
Well, it brings up an interesting question, which I think is this: like, if you look at this particular video, the one that Xbox put out that I closed in my browser, it actually has like a 50-50 upvote to downvote ratio on YouTube.
What are people not liking about it?
I think that I think that a lot of people. Okay, these are the things that I can think of. I'm not entirely sure because I don't like to read YouTube comments if I don't necessarily have to. But
hear that.
I think some people think that this isn't gameplay. I think a lot of people think that these trailers that you and I watched are like pre-rendered trailers and they're not gameplay. But like, I've seen this game run on my computer and it doesn't look this good, but my computer sucks. But like, I could see that if I turn the graphical settings up to high, none of the stuff that's in this Bright Memory trailer is outside of the realm of doable. Like, it's all totally doable. So I'm wondering if part of it is people that just simply don't believe this is gameplay, and I'm also wondering if there's another part of it where people just aren't that excited about the titles, and then I'm wondering if there's a third section of people that are
want to watch the world burn.
No, I mean, obviously those people are always there, but I'm thinking there might be even more. There might be another section of people that are expecting something more than just a better looking Xbox One game.
Okay.
So I don't know. But next up, we had Call of the Sea, which looks like a first-person kind of indie puzzler title. It definitely, Chris, this reminds me a lot of current generation games, like the way that the art style is, where it's kind of like a little flat and cartoony, but then everything's been jacked up, like the god rays and the shadows and the particle density, like I was saying about the other one. It's like if you made a really simple indie game and then you turned all the settings up to 11 on like the light and the shadows and, fluid textures and stuff like that.
It's like if Myst had been designed for a Nintendo system.
Yeah. And I don't know what's going on in this trailer. It's very cryptic, but at the end there's some of that, what was that? Was that movie that everybody liked with the fish guy? Where the fish guy had sex with the lady?
That was called Fish Guy Has Sex with a Lady.
Okay.
You didn't see that? It was great.
Academy Award winner Fish Guy Has Sex with Lady. Yeah. Next up, we had...
I was going to say, did you know there's a Myst television series happening?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they are adapting it into a television series, which feels like something someone would have already done by now. But live action.
I never really got into Myst. Like, it was never really my bag.
When that first game came out, I was obsessed with it. Like, super obsessed. And that was in the days before there were forums everywhere. You could look easily online and find out how to, cheat your way through something. We were just like, had groups of people that were playing it together and would call each other and go like, dude, did you figure out how to solve that puzzle? There was something kind of special about that, right?
I didn't have anybody that was playing it, so I got stuck on one of the first puzzles, and I was just like, I'm going to go play something else. I'm going to go play Wing Commander.
Go eat your molten cheese-filled chicken nuggies.
I will.
Damn it! Now I want them.
What were they called? Nachos and nuggets? Nuggos. Yep.
It's $1 million idea, man.
Yep. Right up there with the stuffies. All right. Next, we got Chorus, which is some kind of space combat thing, but also, as you said, Chris, it looks like the devil is in here at some point, or maybe like just a Cenobite or two somewhere.
Do you know what the name was? And I can never fucking remember. There was a space combat series that was out for PlayStation 1 and I think 2 that was great, but it was deeply about space combat, like in a ship. And I remember we loved it. There was 2 or 3 of them in the series, and then that was like the last space combat games. I was like, why? What is the deal? I loved the shit out of it. I want more of that explore deep space fighting shit. This looks like that, but with Event Horizon mixed in.
Yeah, there's like a lady main character, and she's got like a sentient ship, and you're flying it around and blowing stuff up. And I'm with you where, like, I hate the fact that one day we all decided we didn't want any more blowing shit up in space games, because I still want them, God damn it. So
yeah, they're pretty awesome. And plus, this one is a little too attached to her spaceship, I was going to say. I mean, what happens next? I think we both know what we imagine, but come on.
It's also just got some, like, dark fantasy weirdness in the iconography that's going on in it.
Also, she should get some mascara that's better.
Are you saying she should have mascara that's not writing on the side of her face?
Exactly. That's like techno. Your techno mascara is like smudging badly, lady.
That's what they do in the future is they just write poems. They have to write a haiku whenever they want to put on makeup. All right, let's see. From there, we saw a trailer for Dirt 5. There's not a lot to say about this because it's
dirt. It's racing. It looks a lot like the last dirt racing game, just with, different tracks.
Yeah, I watched an interview with the guys after the live stream was over where one of the big things they decided to mention was that these 2 really famous voice actors, Nolan North, who does like Nathan Drake, and Troy Baker, who does a whole bunch of stuff, are going to be like, one of them's going to be like your nemesis and the other guy's going to be like your mentor in the story mode to this racing game. And I'm like, yeah, but you still have to play a racing game. So I'm not.
Yeah, you're still, it really, there's a point you're like, so what am I aiming for here other than the fact you're going to make me play the same goddamn race 18 times before I can move to the next race?
I mean, for my money, it's just like, I used to know a guy that was super into cars and super into racing games, and it's like, this game is for those people, and it ain't for me. So,
yeah.
Good luck, you people.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Similarly, Madden NFL 21 got a really brief teaser, which is also completely and totally not really a game that I play. Especially since they stopped doing any kind of tutorial in Madden. So it's like, you just have to know how to play Madden these days. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to play. I mean, I know the basics of football, but like, there's some stuff that you're talking about that I don't know, when you're like, you got to be able to do a technical backslam foul mobile. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So,
huge missed opportunity, by the way, because there's no football this year, right? Mm-hmm. So this game could be anything. This is fantasy game. It could be like, and then the aliens came and forced us to play football versus their greatest players. It could be like Space Jam, but with football and no Looney Tunes. I'm just saying, why just do it like, oh, but what if there had been a season? Boring.
Well, actually, you know what? It probably makes a lot. They're probably going to make a shitload of money because without an actual season, people are probably going to be way more invested. Like, there was a story last week that I didn't bring up where it was like Serena Williams and a couple of other pro tennis people were going to play like a stream of Mario Tennis for charity online. So like, maybe if nobody can go slam into each other and be feety mans, maybe you just get all the like top feety mans and have them play Madden online together. And like the guy actually plays his guy in Madden, and then you just do it that way.
Are you a member of a fantasy foot feety man's league?
No, I don't play fantasy feet man. I play D&D like God intended.
Yeah, that's true. Me too.
Let's see. Next up, we had a trailer for a game called Scarlet Nexus, which is I've seen this game roughly 8 times over the last 2 years. It used to be called Code Vein. Before that, it was called, what was the last one that was like this? Basically, this is just like some anime dude in a third-person anime hacking and slashing stuff up. The character designs look pretty good. The monster designs look pretty good. There's a lot of nice glowing lights and sounds and shit, but
it looks like a more cartoony Devil May Cry, really.
It's kind of. And I'm sure that it's either based on something or it's already has a million fans that are super into all the chicks that are on the team or something. But
of course.
I mean, again, this is actually a really good example of what we were talking about before, where this looks an awful lot like a game that I could be playing right now on my PlayStation 4, but slightly higher resolution, slightly better frame rate, more particles, and a little bit better shadows. So,
yeah,
I think a lot of people forget that that's going to be what happens this holiday season with the first generation. Is that the first generation of new games are always like just slightly better than the previous generation. It usually takes like a year or maybe sometimes more to like really get going.
Every time with the new system, everyone's like, whoa, I can't wait. And then they get the first game and like, this is just barely, almost indiscernibly better than a previous system game. Yeah, it takes a year, sometimes 2-3 years before you get that, this is why you bought that system game.
Yeah. Unless it's a Nintendo Switch. And then the first time you put it in the dock and it just goes right to your TV, you're like, what the fuck? Let's see. Next up, we had Scorn, which I hope that whoever is making this game got permission to just like, this game should be called Giger. It should be called Scorn. It's just every frame of this trailer straight up looks like an H.R. Giger painting.
Dude, it looks like is not appropriate. It is. There's nothing about this that for a second makes it unclear that this is H.R. Giger, the game.
Yeah.
Like, if they did not get the rights, I kind of hope they get sued mercilessly, because this is like atrocious stepping on someone else's like intellectual property, if not. But that being said, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really sticky, though. Like, I don't know if I want to play this game for more than about 10 minutes because I kind of feel like I need a shower after watching the trailer.
So I'm assuming you haven't spent a lot of time actually looking at H.R. Giger's works outside of the movie Alien, then.
Well, I have, and then eventually I stopped because I kept having to take all those showers. My water bill went up, and so
That's fair.
Couldn't do that anymore. But, yeah, this is another one where, like, if you told me... I think that technically what we're looking at is the in-game engine running, because the stuff that's here I think is possible to do as far as just like being a cutscene rendered in the actual in-game engine, but there's no real gameplay here. Like, that's one of the things I think might have been pissing people off, was that they were like, check out all the gameplay, and it was like, well, a lot of these are just like kind of strung together cinematics.
These are concept trailers.
Yeah. And let's see. We also got a quick tease for a multiplayer game called Second Extinction, which I sent to Matt Frank immediately because it's about shooting raptors that are coming at you in droves and droves and droves.
Which, it's not like we haven't seen a game like this before.
No, I think that, okay, so this falls into that category of like, online multiplayer, you and 2 or 3 of your friends are going to play this like horde-based, wave-based, fight this big horde of things game. But I don't think has been done with dinosaurs at this point. I think it's been done with zombies ad nauseum, aliens, robots, variety of other things. But I don't think it's been done with dinosaurs. So as long as it's not garbage or like a whole $60, I mean, I'd be willing to try it out, but
sure. But even so, I mean, this is another game aimed specifically and only at multiplayer folks, and it doesn't look like it has much of or anything of a story.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's one of those ones where maybe it does have a single player story, but they haven't shown anything. All we know right now is that it looks like Left 4 Dead. I think they palette swapped the zombies for raptors. So
yeah,
and then let's see. Another one of my personal favorites, we had a trailer for The Ascent, which is like full-on cyberpunk, just third-person blasting stuff. It got kind of a Shadowrun vibe to it with the weird-looking orky characters and like other worldly people in it.
I mean, which is like after everybody saw the thing for is it Cyberpunk 2077?
Yes.
Which is the one that everybody has on their radar. You know, Blade Runner, the game, but which is also based, I believe, on an RPG.
Yes, yes, it is.
Shadowrun, of course, being a real proper RPG as well. This has that, like, but Baldur's Gate style.
Yeah, it actually kind of looks like more like a Diablo. There's actually a game called Ruiner.
Or Diablos, yeah.
That actually is very similar to this. And again, I think this one is a really good example of, like, if this game came out today, the character models would be just slightly less detailed. The amount of stuff in the environment, the textures and the
Sure.
gibs and stuff would be slightly less than they are in here. And it's impressive. Even though it's, again, this is the sort of game that we could have right now, but it's very impressive for what it is.
I'd play it.
Yeah, looks fun. Let's see. Bloober Team came out.
Team?
Yep, with a new one for the Medium that is a very, like, their whole thing is these atmospheric kind of first-person adventure / horror games. And this
Which
one
I can like that sort of thing. Sometimes those games are awful, but sometimes they're pretty great.
Yeah, I haven't been the biggest fan of them, but I keep giving them a try because I appreciate their moxie. They made Layers of Fear 1 and 2. They made this game called Observer that actually had Rutger Hauer in it as the main character. But yeah, this one looks very kind of like, I don't know, what, Constantine a little bit. There's this whole, like, I was getting really heavy Silent Hill vibes the first time I watched the trailer. It's this whole, like, the world has a hell world right behind it and only I can see it kind of concept. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's not an uncommon concept in this sort of storytelling, certainly. The idea, like, oh, there's a guy who's like, there's hell hidden everywhere, but you suddenly have the power to see it. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's hyper explored in this type of fiction. But the graphics are fine. I mean, we don't know we have no idea what the gameplay is for this. Plus, it's called The Medium, which is the name of a show that I do not watch out of a personal choice. And this does not look like what I'm aware of the show. I do not see Patricia Arquette anywhere in this. I'm assuming it's not a direct connection, but still.
Yeah.
Still, Jeff.
Hey, still. From there, we saw a trailer for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Bring it, baby.
Chris, why don't you tell the people? I'm not the biggest vampire guy, so why don't you tell them all about this trailer and how good?
I like vampires, always like vampires. There's a lot of shitty vampire stuff out there. I'm not going to lie and try and convince you that there's not. But the people who did it really well were this company called White Wolf, which since I believe have been bought by Wizards of the Coast, which is now, I believe, owned by someone else as well. I can't keep track of who's bought who. Point being is that the game Vampire the Masquerade, which was a RPG that initially was just about vampires, but spread to have separate, like, RPG games that all crossed over about werewolves, about being a ghost, about being a ghoul, about being a human monster hunter. I mean, like, it kept going, and it did it with this incredible detailed mythology, like super detailed. I used to read the source books just to read them because they were so much fun to fantasize about all the stuff going on. There was even a short-lived 90s television show called Vampire, I believe it was called Vampire the Embrace, or something like that. I can't remember. It was like one season show by the guy who did 90210 and Melrose Place. But I own the box set for all of one season.
Okay.
But it was just such an incredibly well-crafted world, just so complicated and political, and pretty much, God, so many other vampire things since are based on it. Like, if you look at the Underworld film series, it's totally just a ripoff and nowhere near as complex or interesting as what White Wolf was doing with their Vampire the Masquerade series. And the first game in the series was not bad at all. It was pretty good, but it's been a very long time since that game came out. I'm curious about the second one. The problem with trying to make this into a video game series is that the attraction of this as a role-playing game was not really about combat. It was more political. It was all about, like, forming alliances and like discovering, like, ancient conspiracy secrets and teaming up against one tribe of vampires versus another. It was very social. I mean, literally, it became one of the first officially recognized LARPing games where they put out editions of it in hardback of this is just how to play this game live action with people. Yeah. That's how complex in a social way this game was designed to be. So I'm not really sure how this is going to translate here, but I'm going to give it a shot.
I mean, if it was a first person action game that also had like, some RPG elements and stuff in it, we've seen games like that before. It just depends on whether they could pull it off, right? Yeah. I mean, the trailer is impressive. It's just
another one of these games, which all games, there's so many games like this, and you're like, what is going to set this apart that makes it feel like this iconography of Vampire the Masquerade's world specifically? That's what interests me. Are you gonna sell it? Are you gonna make it interesting in that way? Are you gonna get to choose? Because the idea is that the vampires, there's like 18 different types of vampires that all have very distinctive like sets of things that define them. Yeah. Are you gonna get to choose which one you get to be? Because that would give you a very different gameplay experience, because they are extremely different. But I don't know. We shall see.
I think so. All I know is it's been a while since I've heard Wayne Newton on a gameplay trailer. So, and then last but certainly not least, we got the Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Least.
What's that?
I said last and also least.
No, Yakuza's great. I stand Yakuza. We don't talk bad about Yakuza in this house, in this dojo. I don't know. You never really got into Yakuza, Chris.
I only played that you sent me the remastered first game, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, this takes forever and nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And you were like, no, you got to keep going. Once you get past the first 27 hours, it gets good. I'm like, Oh, for fuck's sakes, Jeff. So I just never got much past that. So I don't, obviously this is like 19 games or something past that game. So I don't know.
Yeah. I can't blame you. They do take way too long to get started, but once they do, this franchise gets completely and totally psychotic, and I love it. And this trailer, the first half was a lot of stuff I've seen before. The second half was a lot more just psychotic craziness, and I literally can't wait for this game to come out because I want to play it so bad.
Like a dragon. Whoa, yep. Like a dragon.
All right, let's move on and talk about Assassin's Creed because we got the Assassin's Creed Valhalla quote-unquote first look gameplay trailer, which everybody was like, there's no gameplay in here, but there's a little bit of gameplay in
tiny
here.
Tiny bit. I think it's important to get out of the way when we're discussing this trailer for everyone to understand that Jeff is wrong about not liking Assassin's Creed games. Totally wrong. They're some of the best games ever. Like, now there's some of the shittiest ones too, but that's because there's so goddamn many of them. You loaned me whatever that Egyptian one was called. I can't remember. And
Odyssey, Origins,
and then Odyssey. And I just played both those nonstop back to back till I just maxed out both of them. I was like, Jesus Christ, these games are amazing. And it's like, and then Black Flag, the one or whatever it was called, the pirate one, that was fantastic. These are great. My problem here, though, is simply it's part of the big part of the gameplay of these things is there's tall shit to climb on. Mm-hmm. Vikings not really known for huge structures and cities and shit. Where's all the climbing and jumping on giant tall things going to happen?
Well, in Britain, it's basically about raiding Britain. So yeah, you've got to like go out and raid and then like bring stuff back to one of the big things in this game is that you're going to have like a home base that you have to keep bringing stuff out. Also, before we continue, I just want to briefly say I have played to completion every single Assassin's Creed game except for Origins and Odyssey. So I want to hear about.
I see what the problem is.
I played Unity to completion. All right, like nobody did that except for Jeff from Ragelight.
Well, I think you're just proving my point exactly that you went about this wrong. There's a point with Unity. You should have gone, why am I doing this? This is not one of the good games, and waited till the good ones came back around, which they did.
Well, it actually is an interesting question because the thing is that the reason that I didn't connect with those latest games is because they play way more like an RPG where like if you're level 3 and that guy over there is level 20, you can't beat him regardless of if you have like an axe or Like that there's a point where the weapons that you have stop doing enough damage because you're not a high enough level, and that was never a thing that I really wanted in Assassin's Creed. But
it was for me. That was made an improvement for me.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely say that between last week's cinematic trailer and this week's trailer, I like the look of it. I mean, it looks very pretty.
For something that's 90% cutscenes, it looks pretty.
I'm pretty sure this is all in-game engine. I don't think any of this is actually pre-rendered, Chris. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here about the way that the characters are moving and the way that, like, I always look at the hair, the way the hair is rendered, where I'm like, I think this stuff is in engine. I mean, I could be wrong. Like, I totally could be wrong. But you look at the trailer for this Assassin's Creed, the first look Valhalla trailer, and then think back to like that Bright Memory trailer that we saw at the beginning. Like, they don't look that much different, right? They're just Unreal Engine 4 games.
I'm not even talking about the quality of the CG. I mean, the scenes we're seeing here are clearly not part of gameplay. Those are the way they're dramatically set up are cutscenes.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would like to see some extended actual gameplay, but considering the game was only confirmed last week, I could still wait a little longer. One of the things, though, that I'm actually really interested about, though, was there was an interview where they actually said that this Assassin's Creed is going to be, it's not going to be as long as the previous games.
It's not a terrible thing. The games have been very long. So.
Yeah. Apparently, the developers have said they've actually gotten like criticism back from people about how long the games are, and so they're actually supposedly going to be shrinking them a little bit because I think that they realized, and I don't know, because you could tell me, because I haven't played as much as you have, whether like contracting that game but making what's there more impactful as opposed to having a lot of stuff to do, but some of it just being like, yeah, you did it, here's some garbage. Go to the next one.
I would rather have it be shorter and more impactful. And if you have other stuff that other people have ideas with, wait, develop it, make it a DLC.
Yeah. So yeah, there's also there was a weird interview with the narrative director of Valhalla where he said that they're doing something. It was very vague. Because the structure of the narrative is different, it relied on structuring story experiences in a way that I haven't seen in any game as far as I can think of. This will definitely be a unique structure for Assassin's Creed fans, but I would even dare to say it's quite unique for any game. I don't think people have experienced a story in this way, how we present it to you, how you consume it. It's very unique, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what that means, but if it's shorter with a more interesting story and about Vikings, I could check that out.
So all of these games we've talked about today are for the Xbox 2, right?
Well, the Xbox Series X listing, those are all third-party games. So there's a really good chance that a lot of those are going to be coming to other places as well.
Sure. No, but I mean, these are coming from the Xbox announcements, though.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the new system called? It's not called Xbox 2.
The Xbox Series X.
That's a really weird and awkward name.
Yes. It goes Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X.
Who is naming these things?
Microsoft.
They are bad at their job, is all I'm saying. The last one was called Xbox One. It was the third one. Uh-huh. What are they doing?
The same company that put out Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows ME, Windows XP, Windows 7, and Windows 10. So
was there never a Windows 6?
No, there was no Windows 6.
Really?
No.
They just skipped it?
Yeah. It's 95, 98, 2000, ME, XP, 710. So.
Wow. Okay.
All right, let's. We got to step on the gas here because we're burning daylight. Last of Us 2, we got an official story trailer. Looks super violent.
Wait.
Yeah?
All right, so here's the thing. A really good game like The Last of Us type of game, which I don't even know what to call per se, because in some ways there's only a few really great examples of a game that does what they do so solidly for story and gameplay, but story being very prominent. It's a lot of people would say it's like a game, but a movie. That was not. It was like a game, but an amazing whole season of a television show. And this feels like it's continuing that. It feels like the next season of a television show that you've been waiting for a while for and are really excited for. I thought that first game was groundbreaking and amazing and emotionally involving. I mean, I cried playing that game, and I don't think I've ever cried playing a video game before. I can't wait for this, and I think this looks terrific.
I stick with my previously stated opinion that I thought that the first game was perfect and needed no sequel whatsoever, but Naughty Dog does not make bad games, so I will play this. I'm sure it will be fine. I liked the weird ambiguity at the end of the last game, and frankly would have rather seen Naughty Dog go do something else. But you know what?
I hear what you're saying.
It looks good.
They're very good at creating new things, but this was a story that people got super invested in these characters. And as Naughty Dog games go, I genuinely think storyline-wise, this is the best product they've put out. And I would like to see what happens next with these characters if, like I said, they were not just trying to recreate what they did in the first one, but evolved the story. And it genuinely appears that that's what they're trying to do.
We'll see. I don't know. For my money, I feel like Naughty Dog has been trapped into making sequels when they should have been doing other things. Like, I think that for Uncharted's 5, if you count the spin-off,
yeah.
Too many, and I think that The Last of Us was a very good game that was about 20% too long and didn't need a sequel. But again, that's what I've always said. Also, I've always said Naughty Dog does not make bad games. So, this trailer is super dramatic. It looks dark as fuck. All the graphics and gameplay look amazing. I'm sure it's going to be a blast to play when it finally comes out. I just hope that I can go that long without getting spoiled.
Yeah.
But we have some news about that. Apparently, last week we had gone from disgruntled gameplay employees to it's probably hackers. We have a lot more evidence at this point that the Last of Us 2 stuff that was leaked was more likely than not leaked by hackers and not disgruntled Naughty Dog employees. Which is not to say that the culture of crunch at Naughty Dog is not a bad thing. But there was this very much narrative that was being pushed about, Naughty Dog is a bad place full of bad people, and they refuse to pay somebody for their work, and so whoever was completely justified in leaking out what they leaked in retaliation. And if they were just better people, then you wouldn't have had a leak. But that's not really the case. What is the case, though, is that Naughty Dog is issuing copyright strikes on people's channels for talking about The Last of Us 2 spoilers, and even gone as far as I've seen some peripheral reports. It's hard to look into this stuff, Chris, because I don't want to actually see these spoilers, right?
Sure. And you also don't want a copyright strike on your channel.
True. But I've seen some stuff that seems to indicate even people on Twitter, people on Reddit have gotten like DMCA takedown notices from Naughty Dog for talking about, because the thing is that these leaks have come so far ahead of the gameplay release that there are people on Reddit who are making memes out of the spoilers and then spreading those memes as a way to, because they find it funny and they don't give a shit about spoilers. Now, I'm really torn about this particular issue because on the one hand, I'm not really a big fan of companies using their clout to take down anything and everything that they don't like. On the other hand, I don't want to see the spoilers. And it would be one thing if this was like, here's a subreddit called Last of Us 2 spoilers, where people who don't care are going and discussing the leaks and the story implications. But the point of this seems to be that jerk-offs on the internet want to spread these spoilers as fast and as hard as possible so that other people see them, so that the game is ruined for them.
I'm sorry. Fuck those people. Fuck you. Fuck you for being one of those people. If you're one of those people, you're a dick. You're a terrible person. I'm sure if that's the way you feel about that, that's probably not the only way you're a terrible person. You probably do other shitty things too. And maybe you should take a closer look at your life and who you are as a person, because you just have zero empathy for other people. I'm sorry. I get it. You're upset at that company. Ruining shit for other people is just not the way to go about doing that. I see the same shit happen with TV shows and movies and comics every once in a while, with some disgruntled asshole comes out and goes, yeah, I feel justified in this. So every person out there who just wants to watch the world burn, because come on, bullshit, you're not mad at Naughty Dog. You just are enjoying pissing in other people's coffee. Let's face it. You know that's what it is. It has nothing to do with that one dude that got fired. You don't know that guy. You're not taking his side. You just want to watch other people get upset. So don't be a dick.
But then it comes down to, on the other hand, I don't like. There's people, and the problem with this. Is it's very difficult for me to look into because, like I said, I don't want to watch, like, there are these YouTube videos where people are like, all I was doing was talking about, I didn't show any footage, I didn't show any images, I didn't play any audio. I was sitting in front of a camera discussing the implications of the spoilers that came out for The Last of Us 2, and this company that is connected to Sony took down that video with a copyright strike on my YouTube channel. And it's like, I'm so unsure about where I land on this because, again, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of companies using that power on YouTube to remove anything they don't like. On the other hand, like I said, we still got like a full month until this game comes out, and there's a really good possibility that major plot details. I mean, I was just watching a video on the internet last week of the people that drove to the Harry Potter thing and they yelled Snape kills Dumbledore out the window at him just to be dicks about it. Like, that's the world that we live in. And that was like 8 years ago or something like that. Like, good God.
Once again, you're one of those people. Go fuck yourself. Seriously, consider suicide. I'm just saying.
I know. Don't do that.
Don't take it off the table.
Don't do that.
I'm not saying do it. I'm saying it's an option.
Just don't. Just be nice. Like, just be nice.
I feel like there's a point of like be nice. Are we not supposed to punch Nazis in the face? I'm just saying.
I just don't. I want them away. I just want them away from me. That's all I care about.
That would achieve it.
Yeah. So let's see.
I'm sorry. I'm being hyperbolic for the sake of humor.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point, Chris, where I don't want to fight anymore. I just want them to go away. I want to go away. You say,
yeah, that's fair.
I disagree. You're fine to disagree. I don't have to listen to you disagree. I want you to go somewhere else. I want you to go away. Shoo. Not you, but the people with the spoilers for the last.
I understand. I didn't think you were telling me to shoo.
Well, I tell you who I'll never tell to shoo. Then that's Liu Kang. Actually, that's not true. I'll tell you Liu Kang to shoo. But we're talking about Mortal Kombat 11 because Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath expansion trailer dropped this week, and I'm so excited. I am so excited. There's going to be.
I don't even know what to say.
There's going to be more Mortal Kombat story. Shang Tsung is back. There's going to be a bunch of new people. Shiva is back. Fujin is back. And RoboCop is going to be in Mortal Kombat 11. And I'm super, super psyched. I'm so happy.
I don't get it, Jeff. I've never gotten it. I'm not going to talk shit about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with these games, but like at all. Never gone, wow, this is awful. It's not awful. I just don't get why it's an insanely appealing thing to people. The way that it has sponsored 11 and not even 11. I mean, that's 11 official games. There's been how many spinoffs probably? And this is a DLC advertisement. Like, so this is like 12 or 17 or something. I don't get it. But that's great. I'll talk shit about people talking shit about Last of Us. I will not talk shit about people who like Mortal Kombat because I am not suicidal myself.
I don't know. You should. I mean, the thing is that if you don't like playing fighting games, it's one thing. But like Mortal Kombat really reinvented itself about 6 years ago to a point where they've taken. It's like watching an insane B movie that takes itself 100% seriously, which I think it has to do that. I don't think B movies can wink at the camera. I think you got a game where you literally have people like tearing each other's faces off and like ripping spines apart, that the game needs to pretend like it's taking itself really seriously. And then you can just go, fuck yeah, did you see what happened to that guy's spine? And everybody's like, woo. And look, it's RoboCop. By the way, it should be noted, Chris, I don't think I pointed this out to you, that RoboCop is not actually part of this story. He's just going to be another character that you could play against other people in the game.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And it's coming out at the end of the month. So we get to play it at the end of the month. The only thing that's there's been a little bit of grumbling online about is So there was the $60 Mortal Kombat 11 that came out last year, and then there was like a $30 DLC pack that had like 5 extra characters in it. This is going to be $40. So
Jesus. And this is a DLC.
Yes. So the idea, well, there's also going to be
shameless.
like 4 or 5 more characters, I think, in here, in addition to the ones that they've talked about. But like,
it better be goddamn Jack Burton for that kind of money.
But like, the thing about it is that there's been some grumbling about this, about like, I paid for the game, I paid for the DLC, and now you're just going to come back and charge me $40 more. But like, man, that's every single video game. Like, there's totally video games out there that charge $60 for the game, $20 for a season pass, and then they came along 2 years later and they were like, we have a season 2 season pass for $30. So like, I don't think it's that much different than what we've seen. Like, if you really want these games, I bought the season pass for this game for $7 because it went on sale around Christmas. Like, if you just wait, this stuff will all become cheap.
What's the secret of being a good video gamer is just having your eye on sales, because everything eventually goes on sale.
Yep. This patch, so that's going to be the $40 thing, but there's going to be a patch that also adds back in stage fatalities, friendship fatalities, and a bunch of new stuff.
Well, hold on. Friendship fatalities? What is friendship fatalities?
I think it was in Mortal Kombat 2 when they started, where you would do a thing, and instead of a fatality, the other person would just do something nice for the guy that lost the match, and then the words friendship would come down, and the announcer would go, friendship.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
This isn't a joke you planned on me, an elaborate... What is the date? What is the date?
Nope. This is for real.
Is it not April 1st? Because, well, it's hard to tell anymore. It still could be. But, wow. Okay. I just don't get you, Mortal Kombat guys. That's fine. I'm glad for everyone. I'm happy for all of you.
Someday,
it's just never going to be my thing.
Someday, remind me, and I'll tell you about animalities and babalities. And
no. I'm going to write myself a note specifically not to ask you about that.
All right. Well, what about Cyberpunk 2077? Do you want to hear about Cyberpunk 2077?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my voice got all raspy like late period Kathleen Turner. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it almost like you had like an excess of testosterone in your system from having too many testicles?
Yeah, this game has given me at least 4 extra testicles.
Well,
I can't wait.
Now you'll be able to, when you make your character in the game, apparently you might have that option to put 4 testicles on your character. Because this week we got a report that apparently part of the character customization is going to be allowing the character to customize their breasts, the boobs, the genitalia, including various sizes and combinations of genitals. So
I don't have a problem with that.
Do whatever you want.
I probably won't use that option, but it's nice to know that I could if I wanted to.
I want to see how many dicks I could put on one character. Like, if it's not more than like 7 goddamn dicks, then like
what are you gonna do with 7 dicks?
I need to hit people with them, like make them cyber, and then like jack into the Matrix. You know,
you're gonna hit people with your 7. Okay, Jeff, let's try an experiment right now. I want you to take your dick out.
No.
And I want you to whack it really hard against something in your office.
Look, I'm not a cybernetic mercenary in the future, all right? I didn't say they all had to be like regular dicks. They could be like cyber dicks or laser dicks or bullet dicks or like fire dicks. I mean, just whatever. Whatever.
All right.
But maybe we will find out more about these cyber dicks, because we are actually going to be hearing more about Cyberpunk 2077 on June 11th.
I mean, it does have a sort of a private detective sort of element to it, so that's kind of a cyber dick right there.
There you go. Yeah. We're also going to be hearing what EA was going to be doing at E3 this year on June 11th. E3 has been canceled, but EA is still going to do their EA Play live stream on June 11th. So set your clock and yeah.
Are there any big expectations for that?
Let's see. It's EA, so that means Apex Legends, The Sims, Madden, all the EA Sports, Madden, and then the question is, I think there might be another Star Wars thing in the works, but probably a new Battlefield will be announced, and that'll take up most of it. EA's been really limp over the last few years, if you're not into sports or The Sims or, you know, Apex Legends. So
I miss the old days of EA when they used to try. They were one of the big creative companies that tried new stuff, and now they just kind of seem like they fall back on the shit that, like that they know sells, that they don't have to do a lot of new work with.
Yep, there are a lot of companies like that these days, including Bethesda. And although I don't have time to go over all of it, this week we got a whole explanation of why the guy that did all the music for Doom Eternal will not be coming back to do any more music, even for the DLC for Doom Eternal. There was a whole thing, Chris, where they put out a soundtrack to Doom Eternal, and when people looked at the waveforms for it, it looked like it was run through like a really chintzy normalization filter. Like it was all just flat. It didn't have any like peaks or valleys to it. Yeah. And apparently the short version is that the game's composer basically wanted like several months to master the music into a soundtrack. He missed his delivery date, and they basically went with a backup, which was just somebody at the company slapping together these placeholders that then ended up being what they put out. Because
Dick move, Bethesda.
Yeah.
It's not like people were like, if you don't give me the official release of this that I want to pay money for right now, I'm going to find a way to rip it from the game and you'll lose money. That's not like what was going to happen. Just go, it's fucking delayed so we can give you a better quality copy of it.
Well, it's actually interesting because in this particular article that I was reading on VG247, there was actually a thing where certain countries, like part of the digital deluxe version of the game was that it came with a soundtrack, and there are some countries where if you don't provide everything you said you would by the date you said you would, then the customer is legally allowed to ask for a 100% full refund of what they paid for the thing. And it seems like that more than anything is what pushed Bethesda to shove this shit out the door, because there's a possibility that people would ask for a refund. And there's one thing video game companies hate: it's giving anybody their money back. So,
or any company for that matter. But, in that particular context as well, I'd be like, if I was Bethesda and you had made this guy sign a contract, I'll deliver by this date no matter what, I'd probably sue the pants off that guy. Go, no, you fucked up our whole shit. You're costing us money. This is all on you, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I just hope that whoever they bring in is able to do... I mean, did you know that in the Doom 2016 game, like if you go to the soundtrack and put it on a spectrometer, like he put pentagrams inside of the actual waveform audio of the Doom 2016 soundtrack?
Very impressed. Very impressed to hear that.
It's pretty amazing. All right, let's go ahead and jump forward to, let's call it a few trailers. We got a trailer this week for... I promised Michael that I would say we got a trailer this week for Dragon Ball Fighter Z Ultra Instinct Goku.
Wait, you promised Michael this week. Michael ain't here. I'm not Michael. Why? What does Michael care? Michael ain't going to listen to me go, I can't wait to hear what Chris has to say about Dragon Ball Z. What the fuck? Because he knows I don't give a shit.
This is like a double don't give a shit, because this is the Dragon Ball Z fighting game. So it's not even it's not even like an adventure game. It's just the Dragon Ball Z fighting game.
Dude, but that being said, the idea of trying to play a Dragon Ball Z adventure game gives me a headache. Like, oh my God, can you imagine? It'd be right off the bat, like just going into stuff I don't know what they're talking about, because they'd be like, well, you wouldn't have even gotten this game if you didn't know everything about Dragon Ball Z. No. I'd rather just play the fighting game. I'd rather not know that any of this exists, but that's fine. Whatever.
Let's see from there.
Ruin my night. Why don't you, Jeff? It's fine.
Hey, man, I didn't do this. Here, I'll ruin your night with The Sims 4, because The Sims 4 is putting out a new DLC that is very weird. The Eco Lifestyle DLC that's all about like cleaning up the environment and like repurposing trash and cargo containers into like furniture in a house, and like cleaning up your neighborhood. And it's really strange. It's just a very strange concept.
It's strange because you're doing it on like presumably playing it on a big TV and a monitor and using up lots of energy to do it. And I mean, just by nature of playing a game, you're not exactly being eco-conscious, right?
Yeah, I don't know. The last DLC that they put out was like an island getaway where there was like a whole sub section of it that was like clean up all the trash on the island, and it was like, what?
So somebody at EA has suddenly decided they're gonna go like far left, and that's fine, but it just feels weird.
It's a little strange. The Sims 4. This is roughly the 600th Sims 4 expansion. So, meh.
Dude, they're giving that away on PlayStation Plus now, and I downloaded it, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I haven't played Sims since like the first one, and it's like I'm maybe 15 minutes in before I'm like, well, I'm done.
They didn't bother to rework the controls, so it's like playing it on a PC but with a controller, and it sucks. Like,
yes, trying to do anything, I'm like, oh my god, turn around, go back there. What the fuck? Yeah.
Yep. Well, you could turn around in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and if you want to turn around and play that game, it just came out with a free update this week that lets you do New Game Plus.
I have that game, so I should probably turn it on again.
Yeah, you can restart the game with all your force powers intact, and then there's a bunch of you get all the unlocked cosmetics over the course of the game. There's some new stuff, and then there's also like a training gauntlet that you can go through. Not just that, but you can also create your own training gauntlet, so you can like make a challenge and put whatever enemies like you want in and play through it. So.
By the way, still thoroughly weird casting, getting the guy who played Joker on Gotham to play your hero. I mean, like his only other real thing is playing a really distressingly good version of the Joker, which I'm sorry, Gotham, I know you've got your haters out there, but that was a pretty good Joker, but he is creepy. And that's what I'm used to seeing him as. And then trying to be him with, oh, he's this good guy. I'm like, no. What are you doing? You should have maybe thought about casting someone else. I'm sorry.
I didn't recognize him, but then Jedi Fallen Order wasn't my bag. So,
okay. I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
There are parts that are great.
Let's see. In further EA news, we also had a pretty solid rumor that we're probably going to be getting a Mass Effect trilogy remastered release.
Of course we are. Yeah.
Which we'll probably be hearing about on that June 11th briefing. So,
EA, not doing anything new.
Well, the thing is that I wonder if this is just an up-res and then packaging them all together and then releasing them on the new consoles, because if it's that, I'm not interested. If they actually put some work into like sanding some of the edges, some of the really rough edges off of Mass Effect, 1, 2, and 3, I would be interested in that, especially if there was a version of Mass Effect 3 where I didn't have to do the stupid online or the phone game in order to get my readiness level up to 100% so I could get the good ending, Mass Effect 3. Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing you, Jeff.
This is
I'm
what
here
happens.
for you. If you need to talk about this after the podcast, I understand.
Okay. I might take you up on that. Let's see. Speaking of old games that are coming out again, Halo 2 is coming out on the PC on May 12th. So the Master Chief Collection is getting ported over to the PC. And so for the first time in maybe forever, I think Halo 2 is coming out on the PC.
Okay.
So you can play that.
I played the shit out of it back when it was on the first Xbox. Like, played the shit out of it. But I could not tell you a thing about it now. I remember it better as Red versus Blue than I do as actually playing the game.
A lot of people do. Okay, and then finally, just for funzos, we got a bunch of Animal Crossing news that came out, proving just how crazy and ubiquitous Animal Crossing is. Apparently, the fashion icons Marc Jacobs and Valentino both are putting out clothes, designer clothes that you could wear in Animal Crossing, which is really, really strange.
Okay, so I played this game years ago on the Wii when I was taking care of a friend of mine's house when he was out of town. His kid had a Wii. I was like, oh, you can play the Wii if you want. I was like, I don't know what this is. He's got like one fucking game other than Lego shit. And I got super cracked out on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was very sad to leave. But that was the Wii. That was like, I mean, we're talking like, God, that was like over 8 years ago. So this is the new Switch version.
Yes.
Which I can't imagine is a huge graphical upgrade or anything. Is it like, what is making people freak out about this game so much?
I think that it has to do. I think that Animal Crossing could not have come out at a better time because it's a story about having control over your life and the area where you live and what you wear and what you do and where you go. And you can, but see, the thing that's so brilliant about this current version of Animal Crossing is that it's also a social media platform where you can like go to your friend's island and show off all the stuff that your friend has done. And you can like really customize things that are going on. And I think that right now there's a lot of people who understandably do not have a lot of control over what's going on in their lives. And I think, you know what? I think it's the same as what a lot of people do when they play The Sims, right? Like I always said, why would you play a game? Why would you play The Sims, a game about like having a job and having a crappy apartment and like having your friends blow you off? Why would you want to play that? That's your life. That's your literal life. Why would you want to play that? But a lot of times these simulations are good for people because they have more control in the game than they have over their actual life. And so they could feel that control. It's also just
you have put a lot of thought into this, Jeff. I am very impressed.
It's also just a really good time waster. Like there's just
can we all just give a second here and just appreciate Jeff for what he does? I'm just
no, that's all right.
Everybody, come on, everybody.
No, don't. Whatever you.
Oh, sorry, I did it wrong.
There you go. Yeah, slow, sarcastic, clap me. That's what I'm looking for. But that's not the only one, Chris. I got two more Animal Crossing stories. Apparently on apparently on Facebook, there are whole communities of people that are doing Animal Crossing like trading, and one of the things that you could trade in Animal Crossing are the weeds that grow on the ground. So if you take the weeds that grow on the ground, you can use them to craft certain other things in the game. So apparently people in one of these Animal Crossing groups on Facebook were making posts about trading with the word weed in them, and Facebook just deleted those because you can't say trade and weed on Facebook without Facebook being like, So
yeah, I think one thing, and I am a big Facebook user, their algorithms are fucked up.
Yeah. So apparently this particular Facebook group, there's been some places where they're putting a post where they're like, please do not use the words weed and the word trade in the same post because it will get taken down. And last but not least for Animal Crossing, here, Chris, this video should show you why people are super into Animal Crossing. If you go look, this person used Animal Crossing New Horizons to essentially make a trailer for a horror movie out of Animal Crossing, because one of the things they've done in the latest Animal Crossing is give people the ability to like draw their own things online and then port those pictures into the game. And so a lot of people have started creating like bloody splotches on the ground and like things that look really strange or off-putting or unsettling. And so this is a trailer, but I actually went online and found like people that have made like 30-minute Animal Crossing horror movies that you can watch. And it's kind of amazing. Last week we had a story about a person who made the song Africa by Toto in Animal Crossing. And this week I've got a horror movie trailer that was made in Animal Crossing. So this is the answer to why do people like Animal Crossing. It's really versatile. You could do an awful lot with it.
I did see someone created like a Midsummer version.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised to hear that people are doing whole separate, like completely original things. Wow, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of extra time right now, as we all know. I'm curious, man. There's going to be some shit that's going to come out of this isolation that's going to be like the next absolute work of genius by some dude who like was working some shitty job, is put on like a sorry man, like you can't come in for 3 months. Never thought he would write a game or an Animal Crossing horror movie or a novel or whatever it is, and ends up being the next big genius. We're going to see that happen like at least 6 or 7 times, and I can't wait.
I hope so. I
don't think it's going to be Animal Crossing horror movies. I'm just saying, but you know, that's just an example.
Yeah.
It seems unlikely the next Kubrick is coming from here.
Who knows? I mean, you know, you're just talking about remembering Halo in the terms of red versus blue. So maybe there's an Animal Crossing machinima that becomes like the next big crazy breakout thing on YouTube, and by the end of the year, we all know about it. And
hey, dude, I'm more than willing and happy to be wrong.
Yeah. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer some questions. So everybody stick around, and we'll see you in just a minute. Chris, are you ready to answer some questions? I hope you're ready to answer some questions.
Yes, officer. I don't know whose pot that is.
Chris, I'm not a cop. I have to tell you if I'm a cop. So, I'm not a cop. Therefore, I'm not a cop. I'm not a cop. I'm not a cop.
All right, it's my pot. You want to smoke up?
No, I can't. This is a Discord call, so I don't see how that's possible. You could blow smoke into the microphone, and I can see if I get a contact high. But I don't know about that.
Oh shit! I'm short of breath. What does that mean?
Probably that it's time for questions. Mail at RageSelect.com is the email address to send in your questions to. And our first question this week comes from Panda's Hero, who says, "Hello, Jeff and Chris. There has been a lot of talk of remakes in the past few podcasts, and I have to say that Jeff's pitch on Final Fantasy VII involving..." Oh, this is from last podcast. Having a team of Sephiroth and the Turks was a cool idea. So here's my hypothetical. You've been given the chance to remake a game, and it's up to you to take it in a radical new direction. What game do you remake, and how? From your loyal fan, Panda's Hero.
Man, that's a solid question. Mm-hmm. Points. That is a very good question. And I'm going to let Jeff answer it first while I think about it.
Well, he specifically said, Panda's Hero in their email specifically said, I could not talk about Metal Gear Solid 1 because, Chris, you may not know this, but when we get to the questions, roughly 70% of the things that I say are Metal Gear or Dark Souls. So I'm going to try not to say either one of those things. Mm-hmm. Let's see. You know what? I think I would like to remake, let's say, Resident Evil 1, and you play as Wesker the entire time. And, your whole thing is trying to, set up Chris and Jill to get killed and do stuff. Maybe get Chris and Jill killed at the end. Last time we were talking about Final Fantasy VII, we were talking about when you do a remake of a video game, if you just do it very much like one-to-one or even deviate a little bit but not a lot, then it has a little bit less value sometimes, in some cases to me, because I already played that game, so I already know what happens. Sometimes I want to play a game again and just play the story again, but sometimes I wish that they would just go crazy and do something completely different, which is why I said you should kill off everybody from Final Fantasy VII before the first half of the game is over, and then make it all about crazy new people. Make it all about the bad guys or some other people or some people that weren't even in the game the first time around.
People would have been fucking pissed.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? The internet's pissed about everything all the time anyway. Who gives a shit?
I mean, but let's face it, they would have really exploded. That would have been, I believe me, I would have loved to have watched the carnage, but that would have caused untoward chaos, to a point we've never seen before from video game fans. I would pick a old Infocom game, no one who really knows me, a shot called Planetfall that was written by Steve Moratsky and co-written by Douglas Adams, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that was a sci-fi fun adventure game, puzzle-oriented, and I would get the guys who did Portal 2, who wrote that, to do it as a modern sort of adventure puzzle game. Recreate that whole thing, that adventure in that context with all that humor, all that British style humor. That's what I would kill to see. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, when you say that, it made me think of, unfortunately, it's hard to find anything on this old game because there was a new game called Age of Wonders Planetfall that came out last year. So it's hard to find
I know, it took you a second. It was
cursory
Infocom.
Search. Yeah.
Infocom.
But having you talk about that actually makes me think about how it was a text adventure.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Infocom. That's what they did, was text adventures. But it was like one of their all-time best. It was so funny. It was laugh out loud funny. And it was just this great sort of like, it was very British. It was very, a guy who's kind of a schlemiel in space, who's like, no one likes him. He's a janitor trying to figure out how to save the world. It was great. And they made a sequel to it even, which the name I'm forgetting. But kill to see something like that, but done with 3D graphics, with great voice actors and comedy and writing. It's such a cool idea. Do it.
Actually, it's funny because as you were talking about it, I was reminded, I never played this, but what I did play about space janitors was Space Quest. And I think if you're going to remake a game, go way back, man. Get that Space Quest. Or like, what if you just remade the original King's Quest and like, cleaned up some of the harder puzzles, made it with really nice graphics. You didn't even have to like make it 3D. You could just make it the same kind of 2D on a plane where you move from place to place, but just draw everything like in super HD 4K Photoshop with like really beautiful animations.
I love the idea of taking super early games and that have never been like readapted, that they just dropped off, and going, fuck it, we're making a new Load Runner with 3D HD stuff.
Yeah.
Jumpman is coming back this summer.
I feel like they tried to do, like Atari tried to do that. Like they made a Battlezone. They made 2 different Battlezone games, I think.
That was going too far back. Battlezone was just literally 2 sprites firing dots at each other. Come on.
Actually, I don't know if you know this, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, they actually made a reboot of Battlezone that was where you were on the moon and you had tanks and different things, but the whole thing was like this 80s Cold War where it was like the untold story that in the 80s the US and the Russians were fighting over the moon with space tanks, and it was really cool. I love that game, and they actually re-released it I think like early last year for PC, but there were 2 of those, and those were pretty good. But
for the record, I want to say I mixed up Battlezone with Combat in my head, which was an Atari VHS game. Battlezone was one of the first vector games, which I believe there was a whole game system they developed at some point that had like red vector graphics. You like look through like goggles, just like the Battlezone one to play, like a home console system. I mean, but vector graphics were kind of a thing for a little while until people were like, we don't need that anymore. Why is this still a thing?
Yeah, Battlezone 1998, and man, that was a great game. I really loved that game because it was like you played as the it was like a third person action game, but then you also had this whole real time strategy thing where you had to like command this unit to go pick up resources and then build more tanks, and then you could jump into the tanks and go fight the Russians, and it was like, yay. Oh, I've got it. I got the perfect answer.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what this is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I would remake Brutal Legend and take out all the RTS stuff in Brutal Legend.
What is RTS?
The real-time strategy. Do you know Brutal Legend? Probably not. It was a Double Fine game where Jack Black was like this metal roadie.
No, I have that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like at the beginning, it was just kind of like a third-person action game. And then eventually it devolved into this thing where like you had these battles where you had to do a real-time strategy where you had to like build units and then like command them, but you did it all from the third-person Jack Black thing.
That is literally why I stopped playing that game.
Yeah.
I was like so excited to get it, and then there's a point where I was like, oh, well, I don't want to do that.
Which I honestly think that part of the game isn't quite as bad as its reputation has been. But like, man, I had an idea one time about making a whole like JRPG that was about like 1970s prog rock people trying to fight hair metal 80s incursions into their zones and stuff. And like, I love that idea, but there was so much in Brutal Legend that was so good, and then that RTS part was just like it wasn't really, I think what people expected when they went to go play the game. Like, it wasn't what the outside of the box was kind of advertising. And if they could make that game again, but then just make it like a third person action game with like upgrades and
dude, what if they made a game that was nothing? It was like a modern Final Fantasy game, with all the super CG graphics and all the cutscenes and the great like summoning bits, but it's all industrial metal and gothic bands fighting each other. So like the special thing, like Nine Inch Nails would be like cast "I Want to Fuck You Like an Animal" that has like a 45-second cutscene every time you cast it of like dude just fucking the shit out of this other thing until they explode,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's a game I'd like to play. Make that happen, studios. I'm waiting.
There you go. Yeah,
I'm waiting.
There's so much of this stuff that would be so great if you could just get your shit together. And the thing with Brutal Legend was that they got all the voice talent, right? They got all the actual people to come in and be the voices of stuff. Or like, I was just looking at Brutal Legend on Google image search, and here's a picture of somebody who has made Brutal Legend into like a 90s LucasArts adventure game. And
I like it.
I would play that too. I would play the hell out of that.
Also, you raise an interesting point, though. What if someone went back and took a lot of games like this, where you're like, it would be a great game if not for, and just got rid of the if not for parts and re-released it for like $5? Like, here's how you play this. All that shit is gone that you didn't like. Wow, it's a really good game now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for Brutal Legend, if you cut out all that stuff, it would like reduce the length of the game to like very, very short. But also
for $5,
I really wish, like I was so talking about it before, but if I could remake a game, like I really wish they would bring back like Wing Commander, like old just space, or like TIE Fighter, those old space combat games.
You've heard my Wing Commander story, right? I have like the best Wing Commander story.
Did you went to the premiere of the Wing Commander movie?
No. Okay, so Lord British, Richard Garriott, ran Origin Systems.
Yeah.
Lives here in Austin. He created Wing Commander. Every other year, sometimes every 3 years, he would turn his house, which was this huge, crazy mansion with like trapdoors and like a fucking island with a moat that had fire that came out of it and shit. He would turn it into a haunted house, but that was just for adults, 18 and up only, because it had nudity and violence and drugs and shit. It was crazy. And it cost like a huge amount of money to get in. But you could volunteer. So one year when I moved here, I volunteered for it. It's right when Wing Commander 3, I think it's 3, was coming out with Mark Hamill and Ginger Lynn and John Rhys Davies and all those people. Mm-hmm. So we did it. I was a tour guide. Mark Hamill was touring through it. And there's a scene at the end towards the end of the haunted house where the walls close in on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was a cool effect where literally the walls close in, and the way it was lit, they looked like stone. They're painted to look like it and everything. But really the way it was lit, it really did look like they were solid. But then once they got on it, it would close on you. And then it was just, they were foam, but it would close completely. You couldn't move. Then the whole thing fell over and opened into another room where you could crawl out. Pretty impressive. Mark Hamill there did in fact scream out, "C-3PO, get us out of here." And we all lost our shit. That is a fact that really happened.
That's awesome. But yeah, I'm a big fan of taking some of these old things, because like there's currently some space combat games out there, but they've become very technical and very heavy load, like Elite Dangerous and the Star Citizen and stuff like that. And I'm just like, can we just get that one where you go out there and you blast a bunch of guys and you come back and it's fine? Like, I don't have to land on a planet, you guys. I don't have to do the thing where I land on a planet from space in order to play just a space game and have fun with it. So
now, isn't the one that like that the game everybody hated when it came out, now everybody likes? What is it? That's like super. Just go out to planets and colonize them. There's nothing on them, but have fun.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, everybody seems to love that now. They hated it when it came out, but now they're like, damn, that game, all the updates made that game amazing. It's funny, like I looked at it on Amazon the other day, like I think a year and a half ago, it was like $5 to get a copy, and now it's like 40.
I think it was like 2 weeks ago, they added mechs into the game that you could build and tromp around in on things. And there was a news story that I had a few weeks back that I don't think I brought it up, where they said that over the next year, they're going to get really ambitious Well, they've already created the ability to build houses, fleet carriers, like dune buggies. You can play the game in VR. You can build a mech. There's a living ship. You can build undersea aquatic stations. Like, they've already done so much of this game that they're like, now we're really going to get serious. And I'm just like, Jesus.
No, I mean, this is clearly a passion project for somebody from this company. Like, clearly. It feels like God, was it Second Skin I'm thinking of?
Second Life.
Second Life. It feels like somebody wants to do a better Second Life, you know?
I could see that.
And I'm impressed with everything I hear about it. I'm like, yeah, because when they announced it, that's what it sounded like we were getting right off the bat. And then clearly it was just, it's space and there's nothing there. And everyone was like, what the fuck is this shit? And now it's filling up and they keep adding new stuff. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yep, it's impressive. Let's see. Whiskey Howell writes in and says, hey, Jeff and Chris, hope you're doing well and keeping your sanity intact during these trying times. Lately, I had an interesting question which keeps going through my mind and seems quite appropriate for the podcast. What would be your game developer dream team? Mine would be Kojima from Death Stranding and Metal Gear and Ken Levine from BioShock. Just imagining their meetings alone seems thrilling. Ken Levine keeps on making games during the development process and throws them away. Norma Reedus brings in the coffee. Guillermo del Toro tried to get into the dream team by cleaning the windows of the outside of their building. In other words, millions of dollars get wasted and madness ensues. Come with your own dream team and feel free to elaborate on mine. Kind regards, Whiskey Howl of Flanders, Belgium.
Wow. I don't know how anyone is going to top that.
I actually had a game development dream team answer a little while back that I'm going to crib from one of my previous podcasts, and then I will try to think of a second one. And that was Suda51 and Swery. Now, those names probably don't mean anything to you, Chris, but...
Nope.
Suda51 has made like a bunch of batshit insane games. He made Killer 7. Did you play Killer 7? No More Heroes.
Nope.
Okay. Well, he's basically like this.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. No, it's all right. He's made all of these really crazy. He's like a real kind of like punk rock game developer that's made a lot of these. Like he made a game called Lollipop Chainsaw. Do you hear Lollipop Chainsaw?
I have played. Yes,
okay,
extensively.
Okay. So he played a lot of these games. Or he created a lot of these games that have this real kind of crazy aesthetic to them, and then Swery is another Japanese game developer who has made a lot of very strange games. The one that everybody knows is Deadly Premonition, which is kind of like Twin Peaks meets Resident Evil, where
Why do I not know about this?
I think you would probably really like it because it's a very strange game. Like the main character talks to himself all the time, and he drives to this little like small American rural town, and he's like staying there kind of like Dale Cooper and trying to solve this murder. But then every so often the world kind of goes Silent Hill and he's got to fight these zombies, and it's really, really, really bizarre. He's also made a couple of other, he made this D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die, which is really crazy. This I think came out last year, the Missing J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories, where you literally have a mechanic where your character heals from injuries. So like if there's like a platform that you can't get through, you turn the world, fall down, and break your bones, and then slide your corpse through the area, and then regenerate back into a person on the other side.
Well, that is original. I'll hand them that.
Yeah.
So you're saying these two people should team up?
I think so. I think what they made would be so insane that unless their insanity canceled each other out and they just made like something really boring like Minecraft. I mean,
it just feels like produced by Takashi Miike. Let's face it. Come on.
Well, I don't know. If you don't know game developers, what are two games that you wish that you could like smoosh together the aesthetics of, or like, I don't know. I guess it kind of goes back to the previous question of, you know, if you could take like any game and then any, I don't know. I don't know how to translate this.
I don't know if I have a good answer for this one, Jeff. I'll be honest.
Okay.
I wish I did, but like I don't know. But so many game developers, and a lot of which are very old and no longer relevant. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't know. Sure, his answer was like the best I probably would have come up with.
It's also really difficult because I think in the video game industry, even more than even for this matter, the movie or TV industry, that we love to give credit to an individual when games are very much made by a huge team of people. And some of these auteurs like Kojima are such control freaks that they have their hand in everything. But some of them, it's like how much of this game is really this one person and how much of it is the team at the studio that made it, right? Like if you got put this guy on their own, maybe they suck.
Understood.
All right, let's see. Our next one, it comes in from Michael, and Michael says, greetings, Jeff and Chris. First off, let me just say that I've been a fan since the Spill days, although I fell off from the Rage Select train about a year back. I'm currently having a blast catching up to all the content that I missed since then. On to my question. So during the quarantine, I decided to lighten the mood by dusting off my old consoles to play some of my favorite childhood games. After playing through Jack, Sly Cooper, and Crash series, it occurred to me that these AAA kid-friendly franchises are almost non-existent these days. With the notable exception of Nintendo's catalog, every AAA franchise is very mature in their content. Even companies that got their start making high-quality, family-friendly games, such as Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch, transitioned into very adult franchises like The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima. Is it possible for a AAA game developer to find success starting an E for Everyone rated franchise? If so, why aren't we seeing them anymore? Is it the development of better, more realistic graphics that have surged developers to create more realistic, mature games and drop the cartoon style of the franchises I named earlier? By my estimation, the only two such franchises that have survived to this day are Kingdom Hearts and Ratchet and Clank, but even that one hasn't seen a new entry since the excellent remake a few years back. Anyway, sorry for the long question, but I hope it leads to some stimulating conversation. Keep on raging, Michael from Montreal.
I was literally just thinking about this today. How funny. And partially because I have access to the PlayStation Plus now, it has a lot of more indie games on there. And a lot of the indie games are, I mean, obviously not the A+ version of this sort of E for Everyone games, but there's a lot of E for Everyone games on there by indie developers because that stuff's not coming out for PlayStation. I think part of that is really that we've reached, like, console gaming has been around long enough that the brands have become what people identify with on their own. Like, I'm a PlayStation guy, I'm a Nintendo guy, and that's a lot to do with what's going on in your own personal life or what, obviously what might actually you personally prefer. I've always been a PlayStation guy. Mm-hmm. And part of that is that, like, I enjoyed those high-end console games, but I don't really miss them either. The platformers, I don't really miss them. I like the adult stuff being the dominant force on there. That's what I'm an adult gamer. I kind of like the fact that it's a system with more adult games. That's totally fair what you're saying, that it's a shame that stuff's not out there. That's why there is a Nintendo. For people who want more of that sort of stuff. And it sells very well. It performs extremely well. But it's not surprising to any given when you get, a new thing that becomes successful and enough time passes with competitors in it, they're going to more and more differentiate themselves on what their brand is. And Nintendo is the brand for that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two roads here. One is that I do think that there's actually a fair amount of content like he's describing that just maybe isn't being it's maybe getting maybe
it's certainly not AAA though.
Yeah, that's true. Most of it is indie these days, but like there's this game called Super Lucky's Tale that was started out as a VR game on the Oculus, but they put out a version that's just like a 3D platform with a little fox, and it's just a nice kids game. A Hat in Time, which is kind of like a throwback to the old like the old N64 type games. Stuff like Yooka-Laylee is out there. Even something like Ori in the Will of the Wisps.
Game.
Yeah, which is or what was that game that you hated that we played that was the pinball?
There's so many.
The pinball with the little
I didn't hate that, did I? I feel like I didn't hate it. Maybe I
thought
did.
I don't know. But like that, I think that game could appeal to kids. Hell, I'm looking at a listing of stuff on Steam here, and Untitled Goose Game is on here, and I'm like, I could totally see being like 8 and loving, like just playing, like replaying Untitled Goose Game over and over and over and over
Once
and over again.
Not a AAA game. That is a total indie game. Just one that, for whatever reason, got insanely popular. Like Hollow Knight, probably one of the most popular examples of this type of game for a while. That's wildly an indie game. It's like I said, it is these consoles separating more and more into being like, these are our strengths. This is what people who buy this console want. When we do this stuff, it doesn't sell as well for us. It's, one of the reasons I stopped buying Nintendo is because most of their content is more kid oriented. They do come out with some stuff that's amazing and makes me sad I don't have on there that is, both sometimes for kid oriented or otherwise, but their bulk of their stuff is kid oriented, and I want grown up games. I don't spend the money on a Nintendo.
I do think though that there's also something to be said about the fact that like when you talk about the Jak and Daxter games that like,
which I played the shit out of for the record,
or say like Crash Bandicoot, right? Like from my perspective here, looking up Naughty Dog's development, like they didn't have any. I mean, I don't think anybody remembers these older games, but like Crash Bandicoot was like one of their very early games. So some of these other games, I feel like these games were what made them into a AAA studio. But the other thing that I think has to be taken into consideration is the fact that that we are in a very strange time where video games have done a thing over the last 2 decades that they've never done before and will never do again, which is grow up with the people that played them. So there were games that appealed to people, to older audiences, but a lot of the stuff that was, like I had a Nintendo and then a Super Nintendo and then a PlayStation, and as I aged up through those consoles, the games started to get more sophisticated, more serious, less kid-friendly, less kid-oriented. And so I feel like in the olden days, you saw more games aimed at kids because more kids were the main demographic, and that as time has gone on, those kids have grown up and they want to play games full of blood and guts and H.R. Giger penises now. So you got to make games full of blood and guts and H.R. Giger penises for that. I mean, if you look at Grand Theft Auto 1, like Grand Theft Auto 1 was violent, but it wasn't anywhere near as violent as Grand Theft Auto 5 or like Red Dead 2 or any of that stuff.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So I think there's also an upward curve based on, the same companies that people have been buying games from as they get older. It's kind of like the Harry Potter books, right? The way the Harry Potter books start really basic and then they get more sophisticated as they go on, kind of as the audience gets older. And I think that's probably why you don't see a lot of those companies that you listed doing those sorts of games, because they got older, unless they're like Nintendo companies. But yeah. I don't know. All right, let's see. This next one comes in from Marcus. Marcus says, "What up, Jeff and Chris? I found a Facebook post from the great Chris Cox. Oh, and wanted to ask you and your co-host about us. Tell us one fact about yourself that sounds 100% made up, but is actually true. For me, I once had a conversation in college with Chuck D of the legendary hip-hop group Public Enemy about social activism. Keep up the great work, and rage on in the name of Don Cleese. Marcus. P.S. I just purchased an Xbox One X, and I'm super happy for Game Pass. Woohoo!
I have so many options.
Let's see.
So many choices.
There was that time that I called American McGee at 3:00 in the morning his time, and he got real mad at me. And then when I interviewed him for Spill, he got really mad at me again because I asked him. He was making a Diablo game about Little Red Riding Hood set in feudal Japan, and I was like, "What is it about fairy tales and like stories from the past that really motivates you?" And he's like, "It's the only games that sell. Like I've tried to make other games and nobody wants to buy them, and so I'm just making these." And it was like, "Oh, okay, well, I didn't make you make those games, dude. And like you're making
that dude kind of came in with an axe to grind.
But to be clear, I did call him at 3:00 in the morning for the phone interview because I got the time change wrong, and I called him like 4 times in a row until he finally woke up and told me like,
Jesus, Jeff.
Well, I didn't want to. I thought I might have had the wrong number or something. I was super nervous. I don't do interviews, and so yeah.
It does say, tell us one fact about yourself that sounds 100% made up, but is actually true. Everything about that story sounds true for you.
I don't know what I can tell you people. One time I went bungee jumping in Amsterdam while I was high on mushrooms. I mean, is
that true?
Yeah, that's a well-known fact about me.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went to the Drum and Rhythm Festival and saw the Herbalizer, who I really liked at the time. It was on the Ninja Tune label. And I took a bunch of mushrooms, which were decriminalized in Amsterdam. And it was like $100 to bungee jump. And I was like, yes, I will do that. And then I did it. And then I walked around with like this grin just plastered onto my face the entire rest of the day because I couldn't believe that I had done it. And it was so fun. And I was like, I'm going to do this all the time. Never done it again. I mean, I've never, like, not crazy. I don't have $100 to bungee jump. Plus, where would you even go to bungee jump now?
I'm sure there's plenty of places, but I've never done it because it looks crazy and unpleasant. So, I don't know. That's me.
It's kind of nuts. Like, when I did it, they had this thing where they took me up in this crane that had like a little cage at the top, and there was a guy up there with me, and he was like, okay, here's what you're going to do. Put your feet so that like half your feet are like over the edge, and then put your hands on these bars on the side and hold onto the bars. And like, I'm going to count to 3, and when I count 3, let go of the bars, and you jump off the side. And he goes, 1, 2, 3. And so I let go of the bars, and I could not make myself jump off of the edge because it's one of those things like the high dive where when you're on the ground, it looks like it's like, that's not that high. And you get up there, you're like, I'm on top of a building. So I let go of the sides and I didn't jump. And the guy, obviously this had happened to him before, he like used his body to swing the cage backwards so that I basically fell out of the front of it and didn't jump. And then I was like, because bungee jumping is crazy because it looks like you're just going to hit the ground and then you suddenly start slowing down and then you go all the way back up again and then you got to do the whole thing over again. And it's nuts.
So I'm sticking by the rules of this story. I don't talk about the period of my life much overall in detail when I used to review music, albums, live shows, used to interview bands. That was pre-film and television for me. That's what I did first. And I did that in DC. I worked for City Paper in DC, which is their version of the Austin Chronicle. I used to hang out in the music scene pretty heavily. I've been at the Discord House, which is, Fugazi, Minor Threat, those guys where they all were from. I was really into it and spent a lot of time hanging out with musicians and partying in that scene. And I remember there was this thing called the Sub Pop Singles Club, Sub Pop being a very popular label that was kind of one of the label that launched a lot of the big grunge acts and the early alt rock acts.
I remember.
And they put out the first Smashing Pumpkins single before there was anything else out there at all. And nobody knew who they were. But I had this club. It was a monthly. You got a single in the mail, and you're like, okay, because Sub Pop was generally pretty cool. So they were playing our local club in Richmond, and we went there, and there was like 12 people there. Mm-hmm. Seriously, this is Smashing fucking Pumpkins, who turned into one of the biggest bands in the world. And there were 12 people there, and we felt so bad for them. We're like, oh my God, this is so sad. And not even for the first time. We were like, we're here to take care of you. We all have jobs. So we buy them all drinks, and we're like, hey, if anybody needs a place to stay, we took care of the band Sebado, which is less well known, but we took care of them for like years whenever they would tour around, like, hey, come stay at our house. And they would. But anyway, the upshot of this one is, D'Arcy, the super hot bassist from the band, we were all sitting there doing shots and we both were really drunk and we made out at the bar.
What? Crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely true. 100% true.
Wow. Well, there you go. I believe it. All right, let's see. Let's see what our time is. I'm going to do one more of these, and we got some Discord questions to take care of. Panda's Hero writes in. This is a very strange question, Panda's Hero, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Didn't we already have a Panda's Hero question?
Did we?
I'm pretty sure we did.
Oh, I don't get a lot of questions. So sometimes if somebody says,
fair enough. That's fine. 2 questions, okay.
I don't know. This is a very strange question, so I'll read it and then we can decide.
I don't mean to shit all over you, Panda's Hero.
No, I mean usually it's only one per, but I get all up in the middle of it and I can't remember what I've done. So Panda's Hero says, "Hi Jeff and Chris. Are there any dojos you regret doing with the host that you chose? For example, Michael for literally any Gundam game has been awesome, but I can't imagine playing those games with Grant. Also, Dive Kick got a notoriously bad rap on the dojo. Any thoughts on giving it another shot so many years later? Hope everyone is healthy and well. Panda's Hero." And then he says that they're going to renew their Patreon because they credit card expired.
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? Renew your Patreon.
No, that's
We're
fine.
not here just to answer questions for free.
Yes, $1 per question, man. Come on. So the thing is that I don't think so. I think that there have been. The thing is that I don't look back on. I love all my dojos and all of my co-hosts. So
does Grant even do these with you anymore?
We actually did one last week. The thing is that now that everybody's remote, everybody's more than willing to come do content for Rage Select because they don't have to come to my house anymore.
I'd like to point out I've been there steadily through the whole thing.
That
I'm
is
not
true.
some lame ass Grant that's like, oh well, now that it's convenient.
No, I think it's funny though because Grant and I, I didn't know for a while that Grant just doesn't like anime or like Japanese video games. So I made sure to be like, well, probably not going to have that person. I think that at the beginning it was easy because, well, when I first started Rage Select, it was me and Jason, right? So
yeah,
boom, you're done. From there, I will try a lot of times to have folks on that have a passion for certain things, but sometimes it's better to have somebody on who doesn't know shit about a thing, and then you could be like, here's the thing, and we could talk all about it. You're coming out with fresh eyes, as opposed to somebody who's just a super pro fan of the exact thing that the thing is.
Grant is super racist about that stuff. So.
No. No.
No, I know he's not. I'm just teasing.
Quit trying to start internet beef on my show, Chris.
I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm just being a dick.
I don't know. Have you ever had somebody on a movie review and you were just like,
Yeah, so many times. I mean, the nature of what we do is that we want to be super inclusive. We like it when we can give them a chance, and we're doing that a lot right now. Say, hey, you've been a fan for a while. You've been very involved in the community. Are you interested in moving up and trying to do reviews with us, especially now with that we're going online? I love that. And it doesn't always work out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's because of technical reasons. Sometimes it's because they just don't have the reliability. Commit to something and then don't show up for it. Well, we are a business, so sorry. Yeah. But sometimes it's just because they come on and they cannot control their rage.
You send those ones my way. I got plenty of JRPGs, and I'm just looking for people with nothing left to lose.
Fair.
All right, let's take
most people who play JRPGs.
Let's do some Discord questions. This one comes in from IT Johan, who says, greetings to you both. I hope that everybody had a good day. However, I have horrible news. I was wrong. Having heard and seen how you and Grant shot that poor doctor at the end of The Last of Us, and how you have called Joel a monster for so long now, I decided to prove you guys wrong. You see, I never shot that doctor, not once, and I got it in my head that you could get through that whole sequence without killing him, and I was going to prove that you were the monster all along. Skip to 16 and a half hours later, and I'm standing in front of the doctor, and I'm trying all the ways that I can to get around him, and then I realized that I have never shot him. No. But instead, I had all those times stabbed the guy to death gruesomely with his own scalpel and failed. And I'm kind of ashamed to admit it. So I'm asking both of you, how far have you gone to prove someone wrong? And how far have you gone only to prove yourself wrong? As always, stay safe out there. Kind regards, IT Johan.
I like to say that, there comes a certain point of age where not only do you stop giving a shit about trying to prove someone else wrong, but you actively choose to forget about all the rage you've stored up about times you unsuccessfully tried it before. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I back before, like way before. I keep trying to tell people, Chris, that everybody that was involved with like Spill or with Rage Select, like you guys only ever met me. In fact, the audience only ever met me when I was in my like early 30s. So nobody ever knew shitty 20-year-old Jeff. But when I was a shitty 20-year-old, me and my friends, we had this it was like before the internet, but it was this very internet attitude about like, no, that is not a thing. I will get a dictionary and show you that you are using that word incorrectly. So I know that I've done that. I've
seen you do that. I've seen you do it in person to someone.
It's hard to get over. It's just a very difficult thing. Nobody likes to be wrong, okay? Nobody likes to be wrong. I don't like it when... That's one of the reasons that I sometimes have to just stop reading comments sections. In fact, I'm not going to read one of these Patreon Discord questions because...
step one of true adult maturity is realizing I don't need to make other people come around to my point of view. It's okay for us to disagree. Step two is not getting furious when someone else pulls that shit on you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, not to get too far outside of the realm of what we're talking about here, but like, I used to be a lot more drunk a lot more often, and it was a lot easier to just ignore everything when you were just plastered all the time. So,
what was that like? That was like a week ago.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, I think my brain is like, oh shit, did you stop drinking? Be mad about everything. Like, people are writing mean comments about videos that we made 4 years ago, and I'm just like, I'm going to reply to that. I'm going to reply to that fucking comment. No, you are the one who is the ball licker. Like, internet comments have also, I'm not going to say that internet comments don't make me mad, but like, sometimes I read an internet comment and I'm just like, I don't understand why. I don't understand why you are like this.
No, the worst are people who know how to tread the line where they're not actually going over into abuse. They're trying to sound very intelligent and intellectually take you down and make you feel like shit about something that happened or said and so it's nothing you can just do the simple, well, fuck that person, ban.
Yeah.
Because they're just being an outright abusive dick. That guy's not being abusive. He's like, I'm framing this question like I was holding a meerschaum pipe in my hand and I had a glass of single malt scotch in the other. And I'm asking in a very reasonable way why you're such a useless piece of shit. You know what I mean? We've all been there. And the best response to those is usually something like to make them go, why would you say that? And then just make them have to sit and think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I guess the thing is that when I first started on Spill and I was doing before I started doing any of the video game stuff, and I was just writing a blog there, and it was like I would get into it for days on end with a person going around and back and forth. I wish I still had those
threads, man.
And what I learned was that like you can't say anything. Like there's nothing to. I've never successfully changed somebody's mind on the internet who was mad in that way, not in like well, what do you think I should do about blah blah blah? And I'm like, well, use my reasonable advice. They're like, I'll take that into consideration. Somebody was just like, you're wrong, fuck you. Here's why, and you're like, that's not true. And then it's like, I don't care. And then you're just yelling at people, and then you die of a heart attack, and it's not worth it. So
if you get angry at someone and use like expletives about their opinions on art. Dude, seriously, the problem is you. Like, I mean, unless you're doing it in clearly a joking way, which, important to remember, there is no tone indicated in text in comments. And if you try and pretend that there is after the fact, when you do, in fact, look like an asshole, you sound like Donald Trump. Okay? I was being sarcastic. No, you weren't, dude. No one believes you. Okay, you're being a dick, and now now that everyone's calling you out for being a dick, you're trying to pretend like it's a joke, and so everybody else is an asshole. No, don't do it.
Yeah. All right, we got to move away from this particular topic.
All right, fair.
Let's see. Will writes in and says, "Hi, Jeff and Chris. I recently watched the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie. This gave me 2 questions for the podcast. 1, the fuck? 2, what are some of your favorite bad movies? Thanks from Will." I assume you are familiar with the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie, Chris?
Oh, sure. Unfortunately.
With Mario, and Luigi Mario?
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. A lot of the people always have the argument. So what is the best video game movie? Which clearly there are very few obviously correct answers. You know, very few, like maybe 2. Everything else is about what your capacity is for appreciating a terrible movie, you know? And Super Mario Brothers is terrible. It's incredibly terrible. And if you like it, it's probably half nostalgia, half irony. I don't know to tell you. There's nothing else there. Let's not take this seriously. It's just not worthy of serious consideration as a good movie. If you do, in fact, enjoy it as a bad movie, hey, more power to you. I got no problem with that. I got lots of movies I've enjoyed as bad movies along the way. There just don't tend to be movies I return to. And they tend to be movies that I enjoyed as a bad movie because I saw them with other people.
I can see that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of movies.
Like, would I ever sit at the house and watch The Room by myself? No. Because that would be terrible. I would go, this is awful and it's not funny and nothing about this is good. But you watch it in a theater or with a bunch of people, or you watch it like at home with a bunch of friends over drinking, yeah, it's going to be fun.
I know what it is. I know what my favorite bad movie, at least of the last few years, is. And it was a movie, and I feel like our measurement for the whole, like, it's so bad it's good. Like, I even think The Room, the first time I saw it, sure, fell into that, but it's also one of those things that's like, it's too well known now, so whatever. It's just a meme. But I swear to you, Chris and Rage Select audience, go watch Atlas Shrugged Part 1.
No,
it is the funniest. It is the funniest movie. Bad. It's so funny because they're so just like, I created a medal for the trains, but the train people are trying to stop my free market train. They've got all the governments in their pockets. I'm John Galt, train metal man who makes my metal trains from the shadows. I'm secreting away the best Americans to make this new train world. And it's like, what the fuck is this movie about? It's about train, like they were too literal with it, and then everybody is so serious. And I don't know how many of you have actually read Ayn Rand's books, but like translating these fucking rambling what is her thing called? What is her dumb
objectivism?
Yeah, these rambling objectivist monologues into a scene where a bunch of actors have to pretend like they're enraptured by fucking the people, that's diatribe about how, like, it used to be that man had a thing and then he'd milk the thing and then he got to keep all of the money, but now they want to give it to poor people and they should make the poor people come up with the thing. And you're just sitting there like, oh shit, this is what that crazy bitch believed. Like,
I would like to point out a very telling moment in what you just said when you said enraptured.
Yeah, we're playing BioShock right now. So
this is a BioShock DLC. Let's in your head. That's what's happening.
I still need to watch part 2 because they switched out all the actors because no one would come back for part 2 and it's got like half the budget of the first one.
Not really hard to blame them for that.
Oh my God. It's so good. It's so...
I think to some degree, what bad movies you appreciate that you know are bad, but you still like them anyway, are based on whatever your guilty pleasure genre is anyway. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I know people who are like, I know this rom-com is terrible, but I love it. And I'm like, yeah, but you really like rom-coms, right? It's never somebody like me who's like, yeah, I fucking love that weird J-Lo rom-com that like bombed at the theater. No. That's never going to be me because that would make no sense. I'm the guy who likes some obscure, weird, totally atrocious horror film because it's so goddamn bonkers that I'm like, okay, I kind of like that. Like this year, there was one called Rock, Paper, Scissors that was so fucking bonkers and stupid and terrible that I was like, hey, everyone has to see this.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. You're like, okay, it depends on what you're doing. And I think for you, it's science fiction. You're a big sci-fi guy.
Yeah, except that, see, I guess the thing is that I haven't seen that many movies that I really hate because I won't.
Because you're filled with love.
Well, no, I won't finish watching them. Like first off, I will look a video up, or I will look up a score for a movie that I have an interest in watching, and if it's not good enough, I just don't watch it. And if I start watching it and it's bad, I just turn it off. Like I think the last bad movie that I kept waiting to see if something happened, and even that was like so-so, was that remake of
Rise of Skywalker?
Oh, well, yeah, good point. The Rabid movie, the Rabid remake.
Oh, I could not bring myself to watch that. No, I love the original. I'm a huge Cronenberg fan, but I think the Suska sisters I'm sorry. They're like perfectly pleasant in real life, but they just don't make good movies. I'm sorry. And everything I heard about that, I was like, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah, I watched that movie all the way to the end, and I was like, well, that was not the best thing. But it also wasn't like super terrible. I mean, I don't know. I just trying to think if there's been anyone that's just been super terrible. Anyway, Atlas Shrugged Part 1 is good enough. All right, let's do one more here. Chris, do you watch a lot of YouTube videos? Do you watch YouTube?
No, I definitely do not. I like pretty much the only YouTube videos I think I really seriously watched the whole thing of anytime recently were John Krasinski's Some Good News.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, this has to do a lot with the ads that are on YouTube. So Jonathan Scratch writes in and says, hi, Jeff and Chris. This is pretty Jeff-centric as it involves weird, unwanted YouTube ads. First, it was those natural soap tools, and now I'm getting ads with some random woman yelling at me to shave my balls. What the actual fuck? Have you been plagued by this as well? Am I going insane? That's from Jonathan Scratch. You are not going insane, Jonathan Scratch.
No, your balls need shaving.
You know what? Okay, Chris, I think I asked somebody else about this, but I have to ask you, do you know the ad that they're talking about?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
I just know about Jonathan Scratch's balls.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That tracks with what I've got on my
famously hirsute.
There is this website. It is manscaped.com, and you can buy like this clipper that's designed to shave your shave your pubic hair, and like hair and body wash, and like ball deodorant, and a cologne for your nuts, and it's this whole thing. And then the ads for it are these really, it's strange. It's like, be a man, shave your balls, and make them smell good like a real man does, you pussy. And I'm like, wait, what? I got whiplash from the tone over here. Like, what are you doing? Real men shave their nuts bald and then put a ball deodorant and cologne on it so that their testicles smell great. And I'm like,
all this shit, man, all this manscaping stuff. Like, look, yes, you shouldn't have a giant 70s bush, right? That's just rude. Nobody wants to go down on that, right? I don't care. You look at that and go like, I didn't bring my machete. Mm-hmm. But it's startling to me the way that men have fallen for the exact same bullshit that they've talked shit about for decades about women falling for. Mm-hmm. Of like, no, if you don't have fucking this, then what kind of whore are you? You know? And we're doing the same shit. Like, it's just advertising. They realize, well, we've kind of exhausted. We pushed as far as we can get making women feel bad about themselves. So it's time to make men feel bad about themselves now and make them buy a lot of useless shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's this, what is this? Part of this plan is a piece of paper it's a piece of paper to stand on so that when you shave your ball hair, you don't get it on the floor. What? Yeah. What am I looking at? There's another one that I see all the time. That's this guy that's selling soap. That's selling just like this soap, and it's I will never buy it because I hate this guy so much, because his ad starts, he's like, I got it memorized because I've seen it so long. He's like, you probably don't even question what kind of soap you use. You're probably just using the same bar that your mommy bought when you were a kid. Well, fuck you. The soap is terrible. Buy my soap, you big jerk off. And I'm like, dude, did you just talk shit about my mom? Like, what kind of advertisement is this where you've gone... So, am I too much of a cuck soy boy to understand this new advertising tactic that's like, yeah, come on, pussy, buy it, you fucking girl, buy my soap.
You do realize that, like, it is the people who use terms like that, like soy boy, who are the ones who are going to fall for that kind of bullshit advertising. Who are going to go like, oh, yeah, no, I'm no soy boy. Fuck you, I'll buy your soap.
And like this Dr. Squatch soap company, this is the one that's like their spokesman is this guy with like this big beard, long hair and shit. And his ad is so aggressive that I hate it. But Chris, I'm so torn. This goes back to like the Last of Us 2 question, because, you know, YouTube has a thing where you could say, do not show me these ads anymore. And, but I don't ever click on them.
Does it work? I don't even know.
Yes, it does.
The Facebook one seems not to work. So
it does work, but the thing is that I don't want to click on it because then YouTube knows one thing about me. YouTube knows this guy doesn't want to shave his balls, so let's show him a different ad for something else. Like I've been hitting the skip button.
What he wants is the competition ball shaver.
That's right. The Manscaped wasn't good enough. You got to give the other one. Yeah, the Manscaped one was funny because it started with like a dude spokesperson, and now it's just this like lady in hot pants yelling at you that you need to shave your balls, and I'm just like, what? But
no, it's just more of the same old nonsense. Like I've been watching this for a while happen. Have you noticed the transition between men in film and television who have like hair on their chests, like every guy in the world does, and the fact nobody has hair on their chest anymore? Like nobody. Nobody who's under the age of 50 is allowed to have hair on their chest in Hollywood and television shows. They're just not. They wax that shit. When did that start? Because that was not something that just happened overnight. That happened over a period of time, like a frog in a pot of boiling water. We failed to notice. And now it's a thing. They're like, oh, you don't actually keep hair on your chest, do you? I've seen ads with that shit. Like, you don't, come on. That's gross. Hair on your chest? You're like, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm not falling for your bullshit. This is just clearly about selling stuff and only about selling stuff. Like,
yeah.
No. If you fall for that, you are in the wrong. You are in the wrong. If you're shaving your chest, unless you're a professional swimmer, you fucked up.
Or like, did none of them ever see that episode of Seinfeld? Like, come on, that episode of Seinfeld that told you should be shaving your chest. Like, you're going to run out into the woods like Jerry and howl at the moon. I don't know. But yeah, the good news is that apparently ads work less and less and less and less and less. And the longer that time goes on, the more we're all just able to ignore that shit. I don't even eat it Taco Bell that much anymore. Mostly because they need to come with.
Oh, I do. You shut up about Taco Bell, Jeff.
Oh, are they still doing the triple lupa? Because that was stupid. That was a stupid thing.
Nothing Taco Bell does is stupid, Jeff.
Oh no, they've got the
Taco Bell loves you.
Oh shit!
Taco Bell wants you to come back.
The $10 cravings pack with 4 tacos and 4 beefy 5-layer burritos. Okay. I heard they had some kind of thing where you're supposed to like pick up a bunch of Taco Bell and then like bring it home and put together your own Taco Bell. I'm not your maid. Put together my Taco Bell. I don't want to.
But they now want you to wrap your own tacos? Look, guys, y'all had one job.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
It's to wrap those 7 ingredients in the way that I asked you to.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going a little bit into overtime because I just went to Taco Bell's website and found the at-home taco bar, and it has this huge thing that says sodium warning on it.
Oh, God, no, it has salt. What a shocker.
I think it has so much salt that they're required to put some kind of like, this has too much. Don't eat all of this by yourself, fatty.
This could stop your heart.
So for $25, I just want to lay this out. For $25, you can get 12 taco shells and 8 tortillas, 6 ounces of nacho chips, 30 ounces of seasoned beef, 6 ounces of beans, 2 things of lettuce, 1 thing of cheese, 1 thing of tomatoes, 2 things of nacho cheese sauce, and 1 thing of reduced fat sour cream. And then you got to make your. This is some bullshit right here, Chris. Yeah. This is.
Or you could go to HEB or whatever your local grocery store is and do all of this for probably under $10.
Yeah.
And it would taste a lot better.
It's
the point of Taco Bell is convenience. I'm not going to say that Taco Bell is the best ingredients in the world or anything. I'm not crazy. I'm just saying it's super fucking convenient and it's tasty and it goes down fast and you're done and you don't go, oh, I feel sick afterwards. No, that was good. It's not like fucking Wendy's chicken nuggets. You're happy. I had 8 quesadillas and you're good. You're ready to go and do your podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. This is so this is distressing to me because the ingredients they've given you are the ingredients to make like a crunchy taco. Like there's not a lot of that. Like there are so many sauces at Taco Bell. Like where's that spicy chipotle sauce? Where's the fucking I don't know chicken or anything? Like this is just taco. I could make tacos at home for so much less. Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Giving you this.
I don't approve. Taco Bell fucked up on this level. But other than that, I will not hear a word against them.
I like the sodium warnings because like half the things on here have sodium warnings. All right. Well, that is all for this week's podcast. Chris, way to go. It's you did the Rage Select podcast. It is a grueling marathon and you have completed it.
I am already almost all but bled out at this point, so I'm glad I held on this long.
Excellent. Before we leave, tell the fine people at home, I don't know how they could not know, but remind them of where you are, what you do, and how they can find you when you're not here.
First off, I would like to point out the screaming in agony cat you might hear over my mic is just a cat that's very upset that he's locked out of the room where I'm talking because the sound of my voice drives him to paroxysms of pleasure and he can't stand not being near me. But if he is near me, he'll chew on cables. So it's a weird mix of things. So apologies. I promise you a cat is not being tortured. But you can find me at oneofus.net, a podcast and video network. In fact, I've been telling people, please come on Sunday nights to our Facebook page or our Twitch page at oneofus.net, where we do a live show every Sunday at 8 o'clock. We've got another really good show coming up for you this week. Please check that out. It's about an hour to an hour and a half. We always have a really good time. We always have special guests that come in. I think that's a great entry point. Please check it out.
Okay. And be sure to send in your questions to mail@rageselect.com. And if you are a patron at patreon.com/rageselect, you can go to the podcast questions channel and put your podcast questions in there. With that, we are done. Good night. Go watch One of Us. I'm not going to go to Taco... No, I'm going to go to Taco Bell. I'm going to Taco Bell.
Going to Taco Bell. I'll meet you at Taco Bell.
All right, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll see you there.